What is up? Welcome to this week's episode of Vanflip Podcast, brought to you by Lambgoat. I am your host, Lurk. Once again, I have hit a home run right in the first 10 seconds of the podcast. But that is probably because I'm very excited about today's guest. Today's guest, I've had the pleasure of meeting once before. Everything kind of happened with this person. We met at a show down here when they were on tour at Dance Gavin Dance with some other people. And I was just fresh into the band, I think, about a year or so. However, since then, I've wanted to have you guys on the podcast because I became like a giant fan. But today we have Nick Lee from the Long Island, whatever band you want to call it. I don't even know how to label you guys. But yeah, from the band Moontooth. Welcome to the show, brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, like I said, I've been a big supporter, big fan. I really wanted to get you on the podcast, either you or John. John's the vocalist, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
John is our singer. I play the guitars. Ray is our drummer and does a lot of our recording. And Vinny is our bass player.
He also is in Cryptodira, right? Or one of those guys is.
As of recent years, yeah.
Yeah.
Vin's been playing bass for Cryptodira. I just saw him down here in North Carolina with Cryptodira, and Ray is actually about to, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, but I'm just going to say it, I don't care, but he's going to play guitar for Johnny Booth on their upcoming tour.
Oh, cool. Yeah. JP, the guy who was with me when we saw you guys years ago, and who did the live podcast stuff with me when we did in-person stuff, who also goes to every show with me, basically. But he is a big Johnny Booth fan, so I'm sure he'll enjoy that. But yeah, let's just kind of get into it. You kind of like, I don't know where I heard you from originally. The first song I definitely heard, let me pull it up here really quick, was, because I don't know the name of it. It was on Chroma Paragon. I think it was Igneous or Queen Wolf, one of those two. And again, like I heard this in like 2020 or something like that, or 2021. So I was already late because you had already had this album out, and then I think you already had another album out. Crux probably came out within the time frame of me finding this album. So, but yeah, those two songs, like I don't know, permeated like my brain. There was something with the guitars, and then with John's like vocal approach, which sent me through the moon. And I was trying to like, categorize you guys into like a demographic, and I couldn't. It was so like, it's got like some Dillinger kind of vibes to it in a weird way. Like, it's got some off timing, like weird signatures, weird cadences, weird all that stuff. But then you have like blues, you have metal and metalcore, and you have, heavy elements and just melodic, nice musical elements as well. So it was really hard to kind of define. I was just like, fuck it, you're just like a band I like, and you could be categorized as a mainstream band or as an underground band, and it would seem like, yep, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the sense that, like, if you ask three different people, you get three different answers as to like what we are.
Yeah.
As of late, one of my guitar students actually said it to me, kind of just like, I like just calling you guys like a heavy rock and roll band, and that's kind of
Yeah.
what the four of us feel most comfortable with, because otherwise, even four of us in the band would say four different things as far as, and I got really kind of like burnt out on like the progressive metal thing, because that definitely gets, if you the word progressive, it feels kind of like obvious, and a little bit like we're tooting our own horn a little bit there, but I'm not sure. I really like the idea of like, just it's we like all different types of music, so you're gonna get all different types of music out of us, from one song to the next.
Yeah. It's very and again, there's a lot going on in the songs, or it sounds like there's a lot going on in the songs, and I think you're a big part of that. But you also play live as a four piece. So is there any on record, do you have like a rhythm backing track, or is there any kind of like stacked stacked channels or something like that to give it a bigger sound, or is it just the low end bass carrying that side of the music, and then you kind of doing your thing on top of everything?
Oh no, I mean, me and Ray have been playing together, recording together since we were 13 years old. I just turned 36, so and in that time, we have a lot of fun recording guitars. So, I mean, we try to keep it just like left, right, and then, but it's, centers, for main melodies or solos or whatever. But when we're in the studio recording those guitars, we have a lot of fun tracking, stacking guitars, as you put it,
Yeah, yeah.
and just making it fun, just so if something's super like a heavier riff, you get maybe an octave or something, so that it hits you like a brick. It's all the bands that we like Pantera or something like that. Like, obviously that's one guitar, but those records have a ton of guitar tracks on them.
Right, right. So does it get difficult sometimes when like do you ever like create something that's harder to pull off live? Not technicality wise, but just like sound wise, where you're approaching as a four piece with three people doing actual instrumentation and one guy singing, but then like you have on record it's like a more full like backing track with lead solo or lead over top.
Yeah, I mean, we had just gotten to the point where uh, I had two, 412s on stage where I was able to kind of turn maybe Vin's side on and off when I wanted to, like like if everything drops and it's just guitar for a second, it's just me, I would turn, that side off, and then when everybody comes back in, I would turn it back on. So it feels like two guitars on stage,
Nice.
but it was just me.
Yeah.
But yes, short answer is yes. It's a pain in the ass to make it happen, but that's part of the fun of it.
Yeah. Oh, you guys are a Long Island band. You're not a resident of there anymore. We'll get into that later. But you guys are a Long Island. What was the influence like when you were younger? Obviously, you and Vin have known each other for most of your life, so you guys had a previous relationship, and I'm sure you met some of the other guys in the band along the way too. But what were your like influences into like getting into what you would call heavier music? Not necessarily music or playing guitar, but just like heavier music.
Um, that's a tougher one to answer exactly, because I feel like growing up, we would go to like Ray and his partner at his studio, Westfall, Anthony. Like we would play in this. Our first, middle school band was called like Unatoned, and we would go to uh, the open mic night at the place called the Downtown, which is not there anymore. Um, but that would be like our line around the block, all different types of people, all different types of music, whatever. And you would play two songs and then you would be off, but you would see so many different types of bands, and you would meet people that way, which was amazing at the time, especially for us because we were 13, 14, Um, but Ray and I, and, in particular, like we really weren't so into like hardcore in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that like Long Island is kind of known for,
Mm-hmm.
especially just because like going to those shows, a lot of those guys were kind of just there to beat the shit out of each other, and it
What
just
do you
felt
mean,
like
Nick? What do you mean? No, I know
it
what you
was
mean.
just
I know what you mean. I'm just being facetious.
it's more just kind of like the crowd killing and things like that,
Yeah,
where it
yeah.
was like I feel like I'm just here with a bunch of like jocks or something like that. They didn't seem like they were there for music at all. It just seemed like a who's like tougher than the next guy, and the music just kind of sucked, to be honest. Over, and I've had some really bad experiences over the years, unfortunately, with that. So we wanted to just be, different, and then we ended up playing music more with, um, I guess, bands that were more like indie rock, I
Mm.
guess you would call it, or whatever, and that just became our friends. And our first real like moving touring kind of high school band was called Exemption. That was our high school band with the terrible name, but The last record that we put out is pretty sick, and it's still on uh, Bandcamp and Spotify and all that shit. And I think, but then anyway, that was we would be playing backyard shows and all that stuff. And I remember the first like backyard show I ever went to. I was like 13, and I was like just like amazed that this was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like maybe 13 years old, just walking a couple blocks and just seeing that there was like I think there were a bunch of ska bands, at the time, and I was like, I hate this music, but this is amazing that this can even happen.
Yeah.
So just making friends that way. What was the question?
Just
Sorry.
we kind of got in. We kind of got the answer. It's
How much coffee have I had today? I don't remember.
no, it was how'd you get into heavy music? But obviously you were a youngster going to all the shows, and then
Yeah.
that's how you got into music, so to speak, I guess in general. But you wanted to do something different outside of the crowd killing beatdown vibe, which I understand. But I enjoy that part of life too. I enjoy being around some of that.
I've seen
Stuff.
great parts of both sides, but it was just that part where I was just kind of like, we just never got. I don't know. We just never made friends in that world. At least not many.
Yeah, it'll happen. You come and go. You get in when you fit in, Nick, and that's what you guys did.
Right.
So I like. Where do you learn guitar, and like how long? Because now I know how old you are, which is mind blowing. I thought you were at least my age, and I turned 42 this year. So like, you're almost a decade younger than I am. And I don't know, man. You put some time and effort into learning your skill at some point. So like, when did you pick up guitar, and then like, how do you even write some of the shit that you come up with and all that?
Well, I was lucky in that my two best music teachers were my guitar teacher, Mike Flint's, who I played with in Riot, which became Riot 5 in the last 10 years. And I had a great music theory teacher in our high school, which was like a whatever, like an extra curricular whatever, like class. And I chose music theory, and she was great because she would get into like the music theory of and the important parts of that, but she was like, I don't know, just not an asshole about it, like, because when I got to college, all those teachers were so condescending and just rude, and I didn't get along with any of them. But between her and then my guitar teacher, who I would just go to weekly, my parents were kind enough to drive me to his studio, Guitar Masters on Long Island. The way that those linked, I was able to kind of just, I don't know, put that through my own thing, my brain, until it stopped working for a while there. It's just kind of like, it's use the theory until it's boring, and then just do whatever the hell you want. When I have, sorry, this sun is bad, but when I've had guitar students over the years ask me, like, how do you write songs? It's kind of like, well, you can use all these things that I show you theory wise and whatever, but really it's just what do you want to hear, right? And like that's really like the answer to that question is like, just write and do what you want, but I was lucky to have those two main teachers.
Yeah.
Since I was very young.
You're just very technical, and some of the things that I hear, and sometimes when I watch, like I said, I've only seen you live one time, but I have checked you out on YouTube a couple times over the years. When I listen to some of that stuff, and then I watch you play it on some videos and stuff, I'm like, dude, how? It's just mind-boggling, because again, it's a four-piece band or whatnot, so you can only make so much noise or whatnot, but like the shit that's coming out is like kind of crazy, and it's hard to kind of wrap my head around that, you're so technical, and it's weird because it's hard to even put into words because the band doesn't really make sense in my head. You know what I mean? Like there's so much shit getting thrown on the wall, and a lot of it sticks, and that's the problem that causes me to enjoy it so much. There's so like I can have a long conversation with John just about his vocal approach and stuff like that, because obviously that's a whole nother conversation that, you know, I'm not going to try to have with you because obviously you're the guitar player. Even though you might know some of that stuff, it's just John's approach to the band is wild to me as well. Like him and you and the other guys as well. But like for me as a vocalist and someone who's, you know, into guitar as well, I'm not like, I don't know how to play guitar for shit, but I'm into learning it. You know, I'm a four chords kind of guy right now. But, you know, being a singer and a vocalist, John's approach to the band is probably what really sold me on it, because
that's cool.
His cadence and just the way that he sets his words within the mix of whatever you guys do is. Does he know that it's weird? Does he know that it's off and weird? Does he understand that?
Yes,
it
no.
works. It works, I mean, obviously, but like it just sits on its own world within the other members of the band. You know.
I think that well, I'll tell you the one funny story, unless I told you this already. But so John played drums in a band called Rice Cultivation Society that I played guitar in for a little while, which very not metal but very cool musical just approach, you know, to put it lightly. But anyway, when me and Ray's old band broke up, John basically told me that he was going to be the singer of Moontooth, and not in a way, not in like a really like a mean way, but just kind of like, look, I know this is how the future has to be. Like I can feel it in my gut, you know. And so that right there was kind of like hard to argue with, you know. I was like, all right, cool, you know, because that first EP, I had a lot of vocals already ready to go, but like as time went on, it more and more just became, you know, John's, like he had like more and more room to just do his thing, and I just focus on the guitar, and you know, now I'm as life has been getting a little shittier, and we're just at different places in life. But like now, as things are changing, you know, I want it to kind of come back to like where I have a little bit more room there. But you know, that he's just so, just I don't know, like he just is his own approach. Like there's nobody like him, and I always liked that, you know.
Yeah.
Even if that freaks people out or turns them off, whatever, then that's your problem. Like I'd rather have somebody do their own thing than like just do what the next guy has been doing, and the next guy and the next guy and the next guy. And that's kind of like how I've always felt about Moontooth, is that want to be our own kind of approach to like metal or whatever, you know.
Yeah. Did he have any kind of like prior experience at like singing and being a frontman of a band?
He had a band for himself called Sun Abernock, or if I'm saying that correctly, but that was his solo thing, but nothing anywhere near as forward moving as Moontooth. Let's put it that way. You know, like that was his first real band singing, you know, and definitely nothing anywhere nearly as heavy as Moontooth, you know. So this was like his first real like band singing, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
and for anyone who's not familiar with Moontooth, who just happens to be 20 minutes into this podcast still, you know,
what the hell are you still doing here?
Moontooth isn't like a death metal band or a progressive metal band or any of these, like, when we're talking, you have heavy elements for sure, and we'll get into some of the new stuff that you let me ingest as well, and that's kind of a different level altogether. But John's not like screaming; he's literally singing like all the time, and it is a different. It's very fuck. What did I say? It was like, I tweeted it a while ago. This is years ago, but he's got a voice that's very
Soulful.
yeah, and it sounds like it's like somebody, but I can't remember who. I'm gonna try to look it up on my Twitter here really quick, but it's just very it stands out a lot. And I'm not trying to shit on you or any other guys in the band. Obviously, together it works perfectly, but Jesus Christ, he blew me away in the beginning there, but.
Yeah, I think that's cool because that's usually the thing that usually really grabs people or it sends them running, which I guess is probably true for any band, but especially for John because they're not expecting like a soulful singer and he's got weird cadences and rhythms, period. Like he's kind of like Ray and I sometimes are trying to reel him in a little bit and do something a little just kind of catchier on our shit because it's I joke all the time with my students about some of the like chord progressions, even though like I'm ripping like arpeggios and stuff on them and stuff like the chord progressions are pretty straightforward. Like there's something that you would hear in a Bob Dylan song or a Beatles song or something like that. But I'm just adding a lot more notes and or whatever. So it's like trying to get him to do the same kind of thing with his vocals. But it's like I don't know that freedom to kind of just do your own thing has always been a big part of the band anyway.
Yeah, I mean it's good too because again that's why I asked if he had any kind of prior experience, and I'm not trying to hijack this whole situation talking about John because that's a whole other conversation, but.
No, I don't think
nothing
close to Moontooth as far as experience goes. Let's put it that way.
Crazy. Well, he's doing good stuff. John, keep it up.
For sure.
Speaking of which, you guys kind of went off the radar for a while. We'll get into that as well. But I want to bring up the current situation you guys have at hand. But you guys kind of like left the scene for a couple of years. Wasn't that much going on as far as music and even shows per se. You had a couple one-offs here or there, and I did you guys do the Protest the Hero show tour?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that was in 23, I believe.
Yeah. So that was. I'll just try to make it as quick as possible. As I got hit with epilepsy in a way that was very confusing. I'm on my third neurologist now.
Yeah.
Over the course of the last 3 years, and I just started having seizures all the time. So when we did that Protest the Hero tour, I was on a lot of medication, and it was not a great thing. Most of the shows I was able to play normally, but there were a couple that I didn't get to finish, and the very last one, which really sucked, which was in Canada. What the fuck? I have the fucking thing here. Yeah, it's in Toronto. I didn't even get to. By the time I was walking on stage and had a really bad seizure, to the point where I didn't get to do it at all. I've done one show since then, which I've been able to play. That was just like a headlining Moontooth show on Long Island, but that I got to play 3/4 of the show. But basically, I've been on this thing of like battling this Norse epilepsy, which basically is like epilepsy that is resistant to medication. So they just keep throwing different types of medication at me to see what's going to work and so far it's still a battle. I have a DBS system, this thing in my chest that's whatever I want to strip on the podcast, but it's this big thing that sends wires into my brain, and I'm up for a clinical medical trial for a new drug to try to figure it out, which will hopefully start in a month or two. And yeah, so playing shows, touring is definitely like my goal. I think about it every single day. Um, but neither band that I play with, Moontooth or Riot, feel very comfortable taking me out because of the
Yeah.
risk that I might have a seizure at any moment.
And were you having seizures prior? Because I know you had one, and then kind of all this stuff started popping off. Was it something that you kind of had previously, or was it just the one prior to that show, and then kind of that led into you being hospitalized, finding out all this other stuff?
Uh, I started having them 3 years ago on my way to uh, rehearsal. From then, luckily, I had driven down from upstate New York. I got to rehearsal, and I just like had a really bad seizure and just crashed into Ray's drum set.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what I
but
was getting. Yeah, that's like the first I'd heard of it.
that
So
was the first
okay,
one ever, and before that, no, I'd never had a seizure before.
what's that like? I've never had one. So like, what was it like as a normal person, just like having a seizure and coming out of it?
It sucks.
Yeah.
And the worst part about it is that it really affects my short-term memory
Mm.
really bad. Like when I try to find specific words, that sometimes my brain won't let me have that, or like more often than not, I have something called like an aura, which is like when I feel like a seizure coming on.
Mm.
That feels more often than not, I have those, and those feel like um, it feels like deja vu, like that kind of
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah. Okay.
But then, if I'm lucky, I can sit down before.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't mean to laugh. It's just funny as like
no,
because like when you're
it's
about to pass out or something like that, it's kind of like the I need to sit down. So
yeah,
you don't think about that kind of stuff when you're like having a seizure or about to fucking have a heart attack or something like that.
yeah. I wish that it was a little more often like that, but more often than not, it's like if I feel like, oh shit, am I gonna have a seizure? And then next thing I know, I'm
Waking up.
either in the back of a ambulance or I'm sitting down next to somebody who understands what's going on with me, and they're just kind of talking me through it.
Yeah.
So I've been dealing with that for the last 3 years, and so like even that Protest the Hero tour, like Ray, our drummer, it's like if he hears me hear a weird note or something like that, like he's looking at me like, oh shit,
Yeah.
like even if it was just like I just fucked
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
but and that's everyone in my life now. So it sucks, and I'm still on, a handful of pills a day, to try to just keep things on the even keel, and so this medical clinical trial is the next really big step to try something to get me back on the road, at least, or get me back to touring and just get life a little bit back to normal.
So is this? I'm assuming the diagnosis has changed since because I think we had like posted an update a couple of years ago after a couple months had passed, but like I think you had told somebody you had mentioned or the band had mentioned or something about limbic encephalitis. Was that is that different than what you have now, or would they kind of categorize it as?
That was different. That was the first thing that my first doctor had said was limbic encephalitis, but it's turned out to not be that. It turned
Mm.
out to be this kind of confusing Norse epilepsy thing.
So like the final boss of Caesars, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's kind of what it feels like, honestly. But if I'm in, like, if I go anywhere, and I have really bad like I was at a friend's wedding and had one, and like I hadn't had a drink or anything yet, and I just walked
Mm.
into the bathroom during the cocktail hour, and the next thing, you know, I knew I was at the table, and I was like, what the fuck just happened? And they were like, yeah, we had to call the ambulance, and it's like it feels like it was made up,
Like you
and
time traveled,
yeah, it's unreal, dude. It sucks. So anyway, I'm still, all I can do right now is just write music at home and just try to go do what the neurologist says, until I get back to a place where everybody's comfortable bringing me on the road, which I hope is within the next year or so.
Yeah. Just
if I'm
lie
being
to them.
real.
Just lie and tell them you're all good. Get back out
Yeah,
there.
like people like say, just be patient. Just be patient. It's like, okay, thanks.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's harder to do that when you're in the seat. When you're in the driver's seat, it's harder to do all that stuff. It's easy to commentate on it, but it's harder to do it. You did a really good segue there, Nick. I'm proud of you. So let's talk about the new material that you guys have been working on. Because I was lucky enough to get a little preview. Thank you for that. And it's we were talking about how unique the band is and how it's not a heavy band, but alas, these 4 songs here sound like they're the heaviest iteration of the band, at least cohesively, right? Like you do have songs that have heavy elements or heavy songs, but you also have a wide array of musical stylings on each record. So this one, is it just going to be the small EP? It is an EP, I think you guys are writing, but is this a
Yeah.
4-tracker?
This is the Bastard EP, and I'll get into why it's going to be called that. But the uh, the first single, Eyes, is one of Ray's tunes. Our drummer Ray he wrote like most of the main riffs in it, and I loved it because it was simple to the point of being like this, whereas like everybody who plays guitar and has a video on their phone, is like kind of just like, look what I can do, and it's like that's not what music is, but that's what everybody's doing right now. But anyway, but I got the scream on it, which I haven't done on the last record anyway. But anyway, the Bastard, as far as the title, Bastard EPs, I'm gonna do my best to explain how John explains it, which you'd need to talk to him maybe. But like we all have the good and the bad in us, and every given moment, but it's never like fully one way or the other. You're always like maybe like 75% being the good and 25% bad and bastard, or you're the other way around. Like, so I don't know. It's his way of kind of navigating that, and the bastard is just that in between kind of like frustration. But anyway, so it's 4 songs, most of which I wrote during this frustration part. The last song, Push, I wrote when I was in Joshua Tree, getting married, to my wife, not our actual like party, but like first actual real marriage. There was a guitar at the Airbnb, and I wrote the music to it, and this weirdo tuning, and so that got on there, which I'm really happy. And Moontooth has so much like music that we have to kind of get through, but this Bastard EP is our first new like batch of tunes, which I'm so excited for people to just have something else to hear and listen to and chew on for a little while, rather than talk about what's wrong with my brain. And
Yeah,
because
I get it.
I forget that it's been 3 years since this started happening to me.
Yeah, and
The
3
other
years
guys,
since the last record too.
yeah, and that too. And it's like I look at the calendar, and I look at like the Phototroph album cover, and I'm like, holy shit, like how much time has gone by, and it's like I can't
It
wait to
surprises
just.
me too, just FYI, because like I listen to it so much. I'm like, oh my god, it's been 3 years. Yeah.
I know it just feels like time is like flying by, and I want more than anything to get more, you know, material out there, just for people to have to enjoy, because the most unique relationships I've had with people over the years, it's not because they love the band or my guitar playing or whatever, but it's like it's because they just have this kind of like connection to whether it be Crux or Phototroph or any of the albums, like they like it helped them through something or they just connected with it in a way, you know. It's not I love it or I don't love it or you know, it's a connection thing. I don't know, I'm not making a lot of sense, but
No, you are. But again, like that is what it is for me. To be honest with you, there's so much of like John's lyrics that obviously are like interpretative, right? Like because he has
yeah.
some things that are pretty straightforward, but then there's also some things like Queen Wolf or these other songs that have like a different type of imagery that you can just associate to whatever. But or Alpha Howl or whatever. Because like I think I even asked John when. Because you guys played with Dance Gavin Dance down here, and I think I wrangled
Yeah.
you guys after the show and was all like, "Hey, what is your obsession with wolves?" I asked John, so because everything was like about a wolf at that time. I hadn't really gotten into Crux. I was really into Chroma and then Photo, but yeah. But again,
That was probably our best tour. Just you know, overall, you know. So I'm glad you met us on that one. But
I
yeah, it's
would have
like
liked it to be in like a one where you guys are playing longer and more, and like maybe like a more wider discography. I didn't hear any of the songs like
yeah.
the Queen Wolf or
I don't
Alpha.
mean like at best as far as like band, you know,
No, but like biggest tour that you guys are probably a part of.
just things that worked out at least as far as much as I can remember. You know, as I don't have a fucking memory anymore. So we really haven't had like a bad tour, you know, or you know, we got to do short runs with like Animals as Leaders.
Hmm.
Many years ago, we toured with Intronaut. That one has a lot of good memories on it, you know. But it's like I wish that I had more memories of the Protest the Hero because I know those guys were really cool to us too. But I know the Dance Gavin Dance tour, like those shows, like were all pretty big, and even though the crowd was kind of looking at us like, huh, and like like it's still kind of like we clicked with a lot of you know
Yeah,
we met a lot of new people. I guess is what I'm trying to say. We made a lot of new
yeah.
friends.
And
Um,
that was on the like I think that was like one of their final tours with Tillian.
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
they had a lot of I don't know,
stuff going on.
different singers going and coming and going. I don't really know a whole lot about that part, but the tour itself was fun for us. We were just happy to be a part of it. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, as far as what you were saying with the wolves thing, it's like it's never like fully one thing. It's not a black or white
right.
with John. It's like he's very in between, and he likes things to be uh, like in a place where like our fans can like interpret it, you know, the way that they want to for their lives, for their you know
Yeah.
trials. I don't know.
Well, he can write a damn good lyric. Let him know that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's pretty good at it. That's for damn sure. Uh, yeah. So like, you guys have the 4-song EP coming out in the near future. Is that coming out like? Because you guys were with for Photo, you were on Pure Noise. Is that still something that you guys are still with them, or because of everything, the lack of whatever going on with Moontooth the last couple of years, you guys are doing it in an independent situation?
The EP will definitely be us against the world again,
Nice.
and then we'll see what happens after that.
Do you have a? I don't. Forgive me if you already said it, but do you have a time frame of like release for that?
I'm hoping by no,
No. Okay. That's making
I'm
sure.
sorry.
You don't
I'm
have
hoping
to.
before the end of the year, but let's say now before the end of time.
Yeah. Open-ended question.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Or open-ended timeline. What is I would like to know what your favorite record that you guys have written as far as Moontooth is concerned, and then what's your favorite song?
Oh wow. As what's my favorite record that Moontooth has written?
Right, and then what's your favorite song that you have written with the band?
That's a pretty hard one. That's
I only
that
asked the
cha
tough questions, Nick. I asked the toughest of questions.
Okay. That's like one of those things that probably changes every day.
Yeah.
I feel like Crux has got to be my favorite record just because of the fact that um, it really, I don't know, I feel like it just kind of like helped us step up a little bit of a level,
Mm.
you know? Um, even though like Phototroph had my favorite stuff I did guitar wise, I feel like Crux is the one that really connected with people um, on a way that we had never like we were still kind of like a garage band until that level, and then we Crux helped us get some bigger tours, and
Mm.
I don't know, but that I'll say that for now. And then um, as far as my favorite song we've ever written, I really love I Revere, the first
Mm.
track
Okay.
off of um, Phototroph. That one, and I think as far I'll just go even weirder, and my favorite one is for right now is on Chroma Paragon. It's got to be my favorite one to play live is Igneous.
Oh yeah. But do you guys,
Besides
how
the tu
often do you guys play that live? I don't think I watch.
besides besides the tuning is an open C major. So it's like if you just go it's a C majors chord, which we stole from the Allman Brothers. But so as long as I have a guitar that's already tuned to that, then I can bang my head till the end of time. It
Mm.
feels good.
Wait. Oh, I did see you guys again. You guys played it, yeah, with Callous Cowboys and Protest the Hero in Orlando in 23.
Yeah, as from what I can remember, that was
Yeah,
a
yeah,
good
yeah.
tour.
Although you don't have the setlist FM doesn't have your setlist up there. I was trying to see if God, because I don't remember watching Igneous live, but that's my fault, not your fault.
Yeah,
Is what it is, brother.
yeah.
But again, I think you're wrong on the album. It is Photo. That's probably the best one, and just because your guitar work is rather silly on it. But again, I think everything for the band comes together on that. Whereas Crux obviously elevated you to a different fan base and a bigger fan base, so I understand why that would be something that is special to you in the band. But goddamn, I Revere is a good song. Grip on the Edge is a great song. There's so many great songs on there. You good? All right. Well, we are back. I'm not sure. Admittedly, Nick, I don't know how much of that I'm going to keep in the very end there. But obviously, you just had an episode that we were talking about previously in the podcast, so we're picking back up. It's the next day. Luckily, you had your wife there, and she was able to get with you kind of immediately. It was nuts how quick she was in the room, but it was wild to watch, and I felt bad because you were telling me your favorite Moontooth record and song, and then when you finished with that, I said, "No, you're wrong. It's Phototroph." But by that time, I think you were already kind of like in the throes of possibly an episode. So I was like, I hope I didn't trigger any of that
No,
by
it
that comment.
wasn't you at all. Sometimes going back, admittedly, like the what people call auras, which is the what is happening in your brain right
Yeah.
before a seizure. That is admittedly triggered by going back in time often on this fucking thing, and and like going back and like kind of like looking through pictures or looking through albums like for something in particular. So that might have been just like trying to find the right, the album or the song or whatever. Like that could have triggered it, but it wouldn't have been your fault because it happens every day like that. It's
Oh, so
like
it's like a. I know you mentioned it, but is it really a daily situation, like where you have to kind of like plan that you're gonna at least like blank out for like one episode a day?
um yeah, I mean, luckily my wife was here. Not she's an amazing yoga teacher, so she's often out. I have a nurse here now, just in case one of those things happen. But she's very used to what these things look like and what to do if they're really bad. Like picking me up off the floor and all those fun things. I was gonna. It's totally up to you. I don't really mind what you keep, or well, I guess I wanted to see kind of what you were gonna keep. You know, just
Yeah, that's
and I
perfectly
think
fine.
the guys and I told the guys in the band, and they kind of were liking this thing. It's like it's, you know, it's your face, so it's
Yeah,
up
I
to
mean,
you. But like,
I'm not really wanting to fucking keep it all in there for the most part. I do think up until like, and I'll show you all this stuff too. But obviously, like, you kind of blank out, and then I kind of realize that you might be going into something, and then you just kind of fall out of the chair. I think I would probably cut it right before you really fall out of the chair and everything.
okay, well, I mean, yeah, if we can see it before they
100%.
post it, that'd be amazing.
100%.
But like, I had talked to the guys about this before, and it sucks that this even is reality. But you know, I see so many doctors, psychiatrists, therapists, neuropsychologists, all these things, and you know, I really would like. People think that just the fact that I'm not in the hospital anymore, that I'm done, I'm better.
I mean,
it's
admittedly, that
over.
was kind of me. I thought it was kind of on the uptick for you, but
And I understand why, but I would like for them to kind of understand a little bit more what this looks like every day.
yeah, okay.
But you know, it's really kind of it's your podcast too, so it's.
Well, I mean, obviously I'm not gonna. It is a wild. Admittedly, that's never happened on a podcast I've been a part of. So, you know, I
wouldn't expect it to be.
I was quite thrown back by when you had kind of like warned me. I was like, okay, yeah, and you know you sent the contact number and everything, and I'm like, okay, well, in the off chance that I have to use this or whatever. But then, unfortunately, I immediately I kind of felt like, okay, Nick's kind of changed right now, so maybe he's like thinking of something, or we're about to start seeing some real stuff happen. And it was, you know, your little episode, and yeah, man, it was interesting to be a part of, kind of, I guess, too, on my end. But you know, it was good that, you know, everything was taken care of, and like I said, your wife was there immediately, and she obviously is well versed in what to do. So
Yeah, you know, she's, you know, not her choice, but you know, she's been there for me every step of the way since this happened. You know, it was not our plan. Let's just put it that way. But
yeah, I would assume.
But how did you put it? As a
Ride or die.
Ride or die. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. You know, I would do the same for her, but it sucks that had to happen. You know, we're trying to find a way out of it. Let's put it that way. That's part of the reason that we ended up in North Carolina.
Cool. Okay, I was going to ask that. Yeah.
Apparently, Duke College has one of the best neuropsych facilities in the country. That was part of the reason. The other part of the reason was that it's just not as cold.
Yeah, and I get that, brother.
and I've always liked Raleigh. It's always been a really cool place to play, cool place to just be. It's, you know, small city, but it's, you know, still got everything that, you know, I would want out of a city at this point in my life. You know, I wanted to try Austin, or, you know, we were already way past the point of like New York City, cause you know, money wise.
Right.
But she didn't want to do like big cities anyway, so we ended up. And I think I said Austin, Atlanta is what I meant to say. But Raleigh just kind of had a little bit of both. We're outside the city. We can go visit it. We just go. I just saw I Hate God not long ago.
Nice.
And we're kind of, I guess, what you'd call the suburbs or whatever. It's like we're like 20 minutes outside of downtown Raleigh. So
nice.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had to choose between Atlanta or Raleigh, and I go to Atlanta frequently, I would fucking pick Raleigh. Atlanta's not for me, I don't think. I don't like driving around in there. I don't like I don't know. It's just one of those bigger cities that doesn't mesh well with me. Although I do like big cities and stuff like that, but
Mm.
I guess just driving around and how compact it is and how it's hills and it's got a lot of elevation changes and it's just not nice. It's not fun to drive around.
Yeah, I guess the driving part of it definitely still sucks. But still met, I guess met some of the nicest people and nicest bands, in Atlanta and Raleigh over the years. If you have time, you're looking for new music, check out Valletta. Those are my buddy Justin Valletta's
Nice.
band. It's like I've been calling it party black metal, which is just a silly way to describe it, but it's like vibey and fun, but it's really super dark and it's got some blast beats and stuff in there. It's really
Nice.
cool.
Black metal's been doing the kind of like more not I don't want to say gimmicky thing, but they've kind of branched out a little bit, like where some of it's fun.
Yeah, it's definitely not you could tell that they're just having fun, even
Yeah.
if the music itself is not necessarily like about anything fun, you know. But there's like some cool strobes and I don't know, whatever. You could just tell that they're having a good time while they're doing it.
I want to talk more about you kind of moving down to North Carolina there. How long have you been there?
Um, we just moved down in December,
Okay, so almost a year.
almost a year.
Nice. So you got a little bit of the winter. I mean, obviously you're already a winter guy. You've well versed in snow and ice. I'm well aware of. But you got some
Yeah.
Appalachian or not even really like some foothill snow and weather.
We're gonna go see Johnny Booth open up for Better Lovers tomorrow if I'm alive. And that's a little bit in Greensboro. That's like an hour and a half
Mm-hmm.
west of here, I think. Um, since I don't drive anymore because of you saw why.
Yeah, clearly.
I can't really say why, but we're Raleigh's a little bit. He's not so mountainy,
Yeah, that's always good.
but I think that will be. But you get a little bit of everything in North Carolina, which is cool.
Yeah. If I think I've dwindled it down. I'm never really gonna permanently move out of Florida. I've decided I just love it here too damn much. And I,
Can I ask why?
uh, well, yeah, because I think a lot of people have a bad idea of what Florida is, for one. But I just think it's the most normal to me. I
Mm,
think when I leave Florida, if I visit someplace, and I frequently travel a lot, so I'm in a lot of different places, and I've traveled most of the 48 states that we have here. But it's just yeah, I enjoy the weather for one. I enjoy the people here. I know we get a lot of like Florida man vibes and all that kind of like crazy shit. But I mean, like
it's
that
everywhere.
yeah, but that makes it fun too. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
uh,
I mean, you also had Eileen Wuornos. I just watched that documentary. That was great.
what
She
was
was
this?
Eileen for that was the movie Monster,
Oh yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
first
yeah,
woman
yeah,
serial killer or
yeah,
whatever. And I just watched that documentary on Netflix. And now whenever I see anything about Florida, I'm gonna think about her. But
yeah.
sorry.
No, that's all good. I also do some like weird dark tourism thing when I travel. So knowing
Mm,
things like that is kind of interesting too. Just because it's closer. But I mean, I also have like fallen in love with like the topography and the landscape here. It's just home kind of, I guess, like oak trees and stuff. And I live in North Florida, so it's a little different than like mid and South Florida. That's more of like a tropics type vibe,
right,
whether it's
right.
weather and foliage and birds and animals and stuff like that. But we do have like some southern Georgian laid back vibe and stuff here. And again, the South, I just like the South better. It's
Yeah,
like more. I think it's more friendly and just more way laid back.
definitely way more friendly. That's the thing that my wife and I realize every time we do go out is like we can't believe how nice people are compared to Long Island. I
Yeah.
mean, where everybody's I don't know why that is, but New York people, Long Island people especially, like it's like everybody's like kind of like ready to fucking fight you, you
I
know?
think it's just because there's
And
too many people and everyone's living on top of each other. Got to be
that's
something to do with that.
definitely that's a big reason why. But yeah, people are just so like eager to I don't know, just become your friend, you know?
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of people moving here from
Oh, yeah, I know.
New York, New Jersey, whatever. So, and that's because of the money and too many people thing to. So, I think we just got down here just in time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm okay with people moving and, changing areas and stuff like that, but just kind of like try to assimilate to the area that you're moving to. Don't try to change it like it's where you came from. That, and I get that people would like to do that a little bit, but, you
Yeah,
left for a reason. So
yeah,
not
yeah.
you. You
It's.
guys left for a completely different reason, obviously, but
I mean, we were gonna move anyway. That
okay.
was that was always a plan. But if the flight down here and is like the one way is like literally like less than 60 minutes,
Yeah.
So it's like it would have been a very easy thing to, relatively easy thing to do to keep, you know,
The band.
rehearsing for big tours and then be home for the price that we were paying for a shitty one bedroom apartment. We have a decent house,
Yeah, and if you could travel back and forth with the excess or the extra funds that you're not spending on that, but
exactly, and I wouldn't have the stress of and worry of what's wrong with my brain
yeah.
if I'm gonna and somebody to like pick me up off the floor every once in a while
No.
or every day.
Not that I don't mean to laugh at it's funny. It's just, it's just
No, laugh at
wild.
it,
It is
please, because
wild.
I can't, yeah, I need to get past this.
Yeah. What is it? So what has gone on? So like those who, because like you said earlier, because you're not in the hospital as much or you're not posting like from the hospital as much, people think that kind of things have subsided or whatever. That, and again, admittedly, that was me as well. Uh,
Mm.
but I guess up until recently, I think maybe you might have posted again from the hospital and doing another kind of treatment thing in the last couple months, but I could be completely wrong and seen an old post too. But what? So like from 2022 to now, like has it gotten worse, better? Like have they kind of dialed it in to where like they know it's not the things they may have diagnosed before, but they're kind of like, do they have any kind of
The
point
first
of
thing they,
reference?
they they diagnosed me with was limbic encephalitis,
Yeah.
and that turned out to be very wrong. Uh, but really, it's just been like throwing drugs at me and different types, and then different milligrams, and
Mm.
so I guess overall it's gotten like better, but it still doesn't mean that I'm not having like seizures almost every day.
So that's been
Uh,
like a thing for like 3 years now, almost like every day. Damn, dude.
yeah, when I first got out of the hospital, in 2022, when I was put into a coma, uh, I was just lucky to be alive, and it could have been a lot worse, I guess, but I'm still struggling with the seizures almost every day. So the idea of going back on tour right now is a little nuts,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
clearly.
Um, as far as I think I mentioned in yesterday's was that yesterday? Oh, jeez.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
um, I have no memory,
Short
by the
term,
way,
I
but
know. Yeah, yeah.
uh, I'm going to be part of like a clinical
Mm-hmm.
medical trial, so that's the next big step. But yeah, sometimes the comas are really bad.
Comas or Caesars?
I'm sorry, seizures
Okay, I
are
was gonna say
really
how many comas
bad.
they putting you into?
Yeah, no. And sometimes they're just quick auras where I feel like something might happen and it doesn't. But most of the time, they're pretty bad. And either usually Liana, or if I'm in New York, maybe Ray from Moontooth or whoever I'm around is picking me up off the ground and making sure I'm and being like, do you know where you are? Do you know who you are?
Yeah.
That kind of fun thing.
Does it like
Um,
because you have them so much, and this is just my dumb brain kind of like wondering something, but do you like because it's when you seize up, obviously like your muscles contract in different patterns and ways and stuff like that. Does it ever, because you have so many, are you ever just like sore just from like muscle wise?
Um, Usually just because I fell, I've like broken like a rib,
Oh yeah, yeah,
like
yeah. I
things,
can see
fun
that.
things like that. Not usually like because of the seizure itself, but just
Okay.
because of like, I locked up and fell.
Yeah.
Um, that's the worst part of that, like physically. Um, but when I first was got when I first got out of the hospital and I was doing physical therapy, I was like I could barely move. So
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely very much better now that I can play guitar, I can exercise. So
Did
I
you have
guess
to
I gotta
like?
live.
I mean, obviously, you had to like regain mobility and such like that. But did you have to regain any kind of like brain not activity, but function? Like, did you have to like relearn to play guitar? Did you have to relearn to do like simple tasks or anything like that?
Um, I had to relearn a lot of, I mean, pretty much all of the songs, but I was lucky that a lot of like music theory, things like or things I teach, like scales, chords, whatever, like that. Luckily stayed, for whatever reason. Um, but so like long term memory is much better than short term. Let's put it that way.
Nice. Yeah, I mean that's wild, dude. I mean, granted, even more wild that I don't even think I've ever seen anyone go into a seizure in person. And this net
Hmm.
technically isn't really in person. Obviously, we're in Zoom call, but it's just you and I. So I was like, oh boy, and I didn't know. I didn't know what to expect or anything. But
I'm trying to find ways when I feel that aura, that lockup, to push through it.
mm,
Whereas where my wife will be like, no, just sit down, be be somewhere safe. And I'm like kind of like this stubborn asshole where I'm kind of just like, no, fuck that. I'm not having a seizure. Like,
yeah, no, I could totally
let's.
get that vibe. That would be me too. I was like, and then just wake up broken ribs, So,
I feel it coming on. It sucks.
uh, do you have you? And again, you probably have, and you just haven't been public with it, or I just have missed it. But have you done anything outside of like traditional medicine too, where there's like meditation or any kind of like saunas or, homeopathic remedies?
I mean, meditation, uh, a lot of journaling,
Mm,
pretty much all the above.
nice. I've been big into saunas
If
lately.
the if this new drug doesn't work, then maybe I'll just try eating acid every day.
Hey, have you ever done acid?
Back in the day, yeah,
Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, you never know. Might unlock something, or maybe mushrooms. Maybe mushrooms. That might be the one. That's the more natural version of.
that was more fun anyway.
Man, I haven't done mushrooms in almost a decade since I was like at Bonnaroo, and I had like a couple bad times. And I
Oh
had them multiple times. I've done them multiple times throughout my life, and they're great. But the last
yeah,
couple ones are like not great. So I'm like worried about even touching my toe in the pool again.
yeah. I mean, you got to risk it, right? You got to
Yeah.
just see what happens. I think that I would know the right, I guess, time or place. But sometimes I feel like if I'm eating all these pills, then I might as well just be taking acid or mushrooms. I'm kind of fucking around, by the way, before I get arrested.
I was gonna say to you, but mushrooms, I guess, is more legal, right? So we'll go with that. Plus, it's more medicinal, so to speak. But
I
would
even should try, just tried smoking a joint, and it just made me a fucking nut job. So
I was
I
gonna
don't,
ask,
I don't, I
have you
don't.
dabbled in any of that kind of recreational drug use or whatnot since the accident?
That used to be like a kind of before this happened to me. That used to be sort of a normal thing, but I feel like maybe it's just because I've talked about this with friends of just how strong weed has become that it's not fun anymore.
Yeah, I'm
But like
almost there. Yeah, I'm almost there.
the last time I tried to smoke a joint with, I was so fucked up that I didn't sleep for 48 days, 48 days, 48 hours, um, and I think it's just because of the way it was interacting with the other things that I'm on,
Mm, yeah,
but it was just kind of like not fun, not helpful. Let's
yeah.
put it that way.
or laced with PCP, and they don't tell
Yeah,
you. You know,
maybe.
love those wet blunts. But yeah, I mean, it's just I would be curious to see like how mushrooms might affect you now. But I obviously like let's not go ahead and test that experiment just on the willy nilly. You know.
Sure. I'm gonna have to just wait till I try out everything and
Yeah.
just get, frustrated enough to just be like, all right,
Um.
here we go.
And you're not like locked to the house 24/7. Obviously, you go to shows and you go and you do things. You don't drive yourself, but because you've granted a lot more time in the last couple of years to yourself, you don't have to like, there's no job, there's no touring, there's no any of that stuff. Probably that you have to. I mean, there's jobs that you do like teaching and everything like that, but you're not a 9 to 5 guy. Have to be somewhere at a certain time. And have you picked up any new like hobbies or interests that weren't there prior to the accident in 2022?
No, I mean, well, here and there. I mean, I love like doing yoga with my wife and taking her classes when I can. I got this silly punching bag thing that like plays music, so it's like that kind of works for frustration sometimes when I just want to hit something.
Yep, yep.
So I'll probably pick up more exercise things like that. But the fact that I can't drive kind of like
Right.
kills, getting to any kind of new thing like that you're describing. But if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I would like to try picking up some new ways of exercising, some new ways of cooking, maybe. A lot of times when people just are just like, why don't you just write music? And it's like, it doesn't really just work like that,
Right.
Like
Right. Right.
I have written plenty of stuff that's like right here, but it's just kind of like it needs to be with the rest of the band to go somewhere, and that's we'll at least getting this new EP out within the next week or two. But like after that's out, we can kind of see what the next plan is.
Yeah.
I know we have some fun other things recorded, but we'll see when it makes sense to release them and all that kind of stuff.
Would there ever be like a version of Moontooth that you're just like not playing? Because it would be difficult because of the previous part one of this. I've glazed you enough with your guitar skills and everything like that. But is there any a version where you're not live and you're just still a part of the band, just kind of writing until you can get to that point?
I mean, that's kind of like what we're unfortunately stuck with right now. But like I want more than anything to get back to being live. I mean, that's
Right.
what was maybe very close second to writing music was being on stage.
Of course.
For at least for Moontooth, we've all got our solo songs that are just for us, and maybe we'll record one day. But like being on stage has always been the main goal, is to get that stage and the response from the crowd. And we were lucky enough to get a handful of those shows right before I got sick.
Yeah. Is there any kind of like, I don't want, is it physical/mental therapy that they have you doing? Like whether,
Yes, I have cognitive therapy.
okay. Yeah.
All of the above.
Is there kind of like some hand-eye coordination type stuff too? Like, do they say like, I don't know how video games might affect you, whether it's like colors and flashing lights and all this other stuff, but like video games or like even like crocheting or some like weird hand-eye kind of situation, that do they say anything about that?
No, but the video game thing this is not the first time that's come up, so that might be a fun thing too. I have like word games on here and stuff like that. Like things like that.
We got to get you a racing simulator in the Gran Turismo 7 so you can scratch the itch of driving, but also, have a little fun on the road.
Yeah, that might be, I'm sure that will make everybody in my life very, very happy to watch me do that.
Just sitting in the racing seat the entire day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, were you a video games guy prior, or were you interested at all in that? I mean,
Not really. I got up, I think the most recent thing I had was N64. So that was about,
not horrible.
I didn't get any farther than that. But I loved like Sega Genesis and N64 as a kid. I was, I think, and then I think, I guess middle school is when the music thing really kind of took hold of
Yeah.
my brain and just kind of was like, all right, how are you going to do this for real? That became like the mission every day. And to meet people that like the same type of music as you, and
Video
that
games
don't
they're
make you nuts.
yeah, they're fun and bad. I'm obviously you probably heard both sides of that, but I gave it up for a long time because I was just addicted to like Call of Duty type games, first person shooters, and I would just play online. I wouldn't even play the game, just the online part of it. So I'd buy the game each 6 months, a year, and just play the damn online thing, which obviously would upset me greatly because 13-year-olds are much better than I at shooting games. So they would just wreck me, and I would just get so frustrated. But I did start picking up some games that I normally wouldn't have played back then, because I recently started playing again in the last year, and I've done like open world games that are like adventure and whatever, and Elden Ring, that was a great game. I'm playing Far Cry right now, so there's a lot of these open world type games that are just interesting, that aren't really set. There's no set path. You can just do whatever you want, kind of like GTA, but not as violent, and you're not doing as many illegal things.
Yeah, I've heard both sides of the story too, and I feel like I have close friends who just use like racing games as something which I've never been totally into, but they use it as like just a way of like shutting off and just relaxing.
Yeah.
So
Dude.
That might be a good way to do that.
If I could make one suggestion, I'm not a racing guy either. Like I wasn't into racing or car games or anything, but I do love Gran Turismo 7, and I like it more when I'm hanging out with my boys and we're just like smoking and we can pass the controller every so often and just kind of like, continue the game or beat their time or whatever. That's way more fun than playing by myself. But it's great playing by yourself too. And if you have the they have a VR thing. I haven't done it yet, but they have a VR thing for PlayStation that you can wear, and you're in the cockpit. So it's like wild. Speaking of which, have you done like VR? I have not really, so I just am asking.
I'm sorry, VR?
Yeah, like virtual reality or like MetaQuest or like the gaming where you just wear it on your eyes.
No, I've never done any of that.
Yeah, I haven't either. So I'm always interested to see like what that's like, but
I'm a little freaked out by that. So.
Yeah, too. Yeah. Like the only thing I really want to do is the Gran Turismo version, and just like I'm driving in the car, but then I don't have a racing wheel or a racing simulator. I just have the controller, so it wouldn't feel as real. But I digress, Nick.
That's okay. Yeah, and we'll see. I don't know. We'll see where this next trial thing goes as far as like next big mid, and if that doesn't work out, then hey, maybe I'll meet you on the VTA.
Yeah, we'll do that. Do you
something out.
Do you spend any time reading? You journal, so I would assume you read.
I did a lot more when I was a youngling. I feel like I can't focus as much as I used to. I just bought Tom Waits' bio that he wrote, or not, maybe that he didn't write, but and a bunch of people have bought me books that are somewhat related to my bullshit. Yeah. Why? Is there something that you recommend?
No, I was just curious. I was curious. I definitely wouldn't be super stoked to read books about the affliction that I have, though. That's for sure. So, I could see why you're not jumping into those head first. But
See, see, that's the thing that I have to kind of remember. It sucks, but it's like I feel like I'm constantly forced to be focused on this thing. Even I want to fix it, but
yeah,
that might not be a possibility. I will say that if you've ever seen the
yes,
movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, this is it's a great book, and it's totally kind of like different perspective. Also, I just grabbed this off I haven't actually read
oh,
this yet,
nice,
but
nice.
apparently this motherfucker had the same disease as me, so maybe.
Oh, ew, wow, I never heard that about him.
Yeah, you can find a lot of people, famous people with epilepsy online. There's
Yeah.
a long list that I have somewhere, but
Well, that's also like a
I'm a mess right
spectrum
now.
too, so to speak. Like you can be like light epilepsy or like super heavy epileptic. So
Yes, that's true.
yeah,
That's I've learned that the hard way.
yeah. Where would you think, scale of 1 to 10? Where does Nick lay on that spectrum?
I don't know, man. I know one person who found out they were epileptic when they were 8 years old. I found out when I was 32, and that's when my seizures started.
Yeah,
And so people will throw COVID at me, and they'll wish, you know, uh, inoculation you got, whatever the fuck you got, that
right.
caused it, and then it becomes this political thing. But I have no real way of saying that. Right now, it feels like I'm on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm at least a 9,
Yeah,
because I'm having it every day.
yeah. Not full on 24/7, but daily.
Luckily, not 24/7 having seizures, but I'm at least having one seizure a day where someone's got to pick me up off the floor, which it sucks for everyone involved.
Of course, of course. Is it around the same time, or is it just like it could be in the morning, night, afternoon, just whenever?
It's whenever.
Mm.
If anything, it's coming from uh, stress and anxiety is the only real like trigger that I could say like, oh, that's causing it. But beyond that, it's just random.
Yeah. What a
Like when I
wild
met you on the Dance Gavin Dance tour, I had never even
thought about
thought
it.
about
Yeah.
having seizure.
I've
Um,
never, I've myself, like I've never had one either. And if I have, I might have been in my sleep or something like that, but I never have consciously done it. I don't even think I've ever really passed out. I can't recall a time where I've passed out and woken up like, what happened?
mm,
I mean, when I was a kid, you would make yourself suffocate long enough, when you're like 10 years old and you could like pass out for like a
sure.
split second. But yeah, I've done that. But
Yeah, I mean, when the first one I had, it wasn't like I was even like fucked up, like I was drinking or doing drugs, but I, you know, went from just standing up to just knocked out,
yeah,
like as if I was fucked up.
well, um, Nick, I think we'll wrap it here, brother. I was so
Yeah.
glad that you're that. I mean,
I want to just say one thing
go
is
ahead. Yeah, dude.
thank you, David, for having me just on twice. I know that wasn't the plan. And if anybody I don't know when this is going to come out, but hopefully by then,
Next week. We'll
New
be
Moon
next week.
EP will be out.
Yeah.
Bastard EP. Please listen to it. I know it's nothing like. I wanted to ask you what you thought of it. I know it's not like quite like the last few releases, so
No, no,
I'm
no. It's
curious.
not. It's a different record for sure. And I was actually talking to a friend of mine who I'll bring up. I recently showed you to a person. You may or may not know who this person is. They are kind of a local celebrity for Florida. They became very popular when the hurricane. They went out in a hurricane with the big American flag, and he's been dubbed the Florida Man. Lane Pittman, the Florida Man. You may see him on Weather Channel when
I
again.
think I have.
Yeah, so him and I are buddies, and he kind of has moonlighted with Dallas Taylor and Maylene, because him and Dallas kind of are connected in the last couple of years, and he's actually played with Maylene, filling in on bass and stuff like that. But he's a musician as well. But I showed him your stuff because he's into that kind of bluesy rock music, metal,
Cool.
and he loved it. And so I told him that I would bring it up and tell him that he fucking loves your band. But God, why did I interject on that?
Well, tell Florida Man thank you.
Oh no, yeah, yeah,
That's
he loves your shit. And then I was talking to him about it. I obviously didn't let him hear, but I go, it's definitely heavier than the previous record, and it might be kind of more, not different, but more toward the earlier stuff too.
That's possible. Yeah, I think it's just a little bit heavier and meaner.
Yeah, definitely. I've only listened to it like once or twice all the way through, but I definitely am going to listen to it more frequently.
All right, David. I'm gonna bounce before
No problem.
anything weird happens. Okay.
Cool. We'll cut it here. See you later, dog.
Cool.